being familiar with the examples of organized and unorganized sector. So in organized sector, it says these people work in a registered IT firm, and under unorganized sector, it says Kamal works as a laborer on landowner's farm. So the one thing that's pretty clear to us just by looking at these examples is that there is job security for the people who work in organized sector as compared to Kamal who works under unorganized sector. Kamal here is not just denoting Kamal, instead, he is denoting all the laborers, agricultural laborers, landless laborers, farmers. So, these people, the job that they do, though the job that they do is very important, they actually feed the hunger of India, like each and every citizen in India. But still, the job that they do, the employment that they are in, it's not guided by any of the government laws, which is basically a very bad thing. On the other hand, the people who work in organized sector, they have this kind of assurance that there are some or the other government laws who are guiding their jobs, and they literally have a lot of job security as compared to the one who works in unorganized sector. So this is a very clear example that's been portrayed over here. Now our next topic is benefits of organized sector. So let's see. Fixed working hours with paid overtime. So if you see the unorganized sector, our farmers work day and night. Still there is no any overtime that they are being paid for. They only get paid for if their crop is well grown and then they sell it into the market. So this is a very huge difference, so to say. Now next is paid leave, provident fund and gratuity, etc. Medical benefits, pension on retirement. So our farmers are literally very old. Some are very old if you go to villages or in Punjab. Some are very, very old farmers and they are still working. Like there is no pension on retirement. There is even not a word for these kind of benefits when it comes to unorganized sector. Okay. Which of these are unorganized sector activities? So what I'll do is I'll just read all one by one and then I'll be telling you the answer. So a first is a teacher taking classes in a school. All of us knows this is something that comes absolutely under organized. So this is not an example of unorganized. This one is organized. I'll be writing it. A headload worker carrying a bag of cement on his back in a market. So this is unorganized. A farmer irrigating her field. Unorganized. A doctor in a hospital treating a patient. Organized. A daily wage laborer working under a contractor. So a daily wage laborer working under a contractor, you must be having a lot of things, but this is still an unorganized. This is not organized. Though he's working under a contractor, but still there is no job security. A factory worker going to work in a big factory. So this is you must be thinking, ma'am, that this can be an unorganized, but this is not. This is organized. This is not unorganized. Now moving forward, a handloom weaver working in her house. So a handloom weaver is basically someone who weaves. Okay. So and still she is not in office, so definitely her job is not guaranteed to her. So this is also something that will come under unorganized. So I have written both organized and unorganized just to make sure so that you can also be clear as to what are organized and what are unorganized. And if in question comes to define the question with examples, so you can definitely come back to this slide and you can obviously see these. Now, talk to someone who has a regular job in the organized sector and to another who works in the unorganized sector. Compare and contrast their working conditions in all aspects. So this is something a general answer type of thing. So if you talk about organized and on the other hand if you talk about unorganized, so there is like differences of folds apart. So in organized they will say that yeah I have at least I'm pension free, that when I'll retire I'll be getting something. My job is secure. secure. But on the other hand, if you talk to a farmer, then they'll say, okay, I might earn this much this month, but then also it depends on the crop. So I'm hoping my crops yields well so that I can earn. So while while they're the way they speak literally tells you everything. So in this question, you can basically write everything: their job security, their state of mind, their well-being, how they are, how they have the one who are in unorganized sector, they literally think of every day that what will happen tomorrow, how to make my tomorrow better than today, how to what they even when they sleep, they literally think of the work that what work should I do tomorrow so that at night when I come home I can get some money or I have this security that okay I'll be paid with money. So you can compare and contrast this according to you. Moving forward, how would you distinguish between organized and unorganized sector? Explain in your own words. So this is also something that is somewhat related to that particular question that we just asked. So you can the first thing that you can do is you can write the definition of course. This is the first thing that you can do. After that, you can write the rules and regulations followed by them. After that, you can state the nature of job. Okay, this is the third thing. But not the least, you can definitely give some examples as to what all things comes under organized and what all things comes under unorganized. How to protect workers in the unorganized sector. So the first thing that we have under this topic is that in the rural areas, farmers need to be supported with adequate facility for timely delivery of seeds, agriculture inputs, credit, storage, facilities and marketing outlets. In urban areas, small-scale industries need support in procuring raw material and marketing of output. Okay. Now we have a table that we need to fill. So can you summarize the information about different sectors in the following table? Okay. So first is under sector primary, secondary, tertiary, and next is organized and unorganized. So the criteria that they have used to justify primary, secondary and tertiary is nature of the activity. Now under organized and unorganized, the things that we can use is you can say employment activity. Employment activity is more apt. Now talking about nature of activity. So in the nature of activity, the first conclusion, the first point that you can include in your conclusion is that your tertiary sector basically is the one who provides more GDP, but still there is more people who are in more people are in still in secondary sector, but more GDP is provided by your tertiary sector. Now talking about your organized and unorganized activity. So in this you can basically write that most of the people who are still working in unorganized sector have no job security. They are working day and night. They are the ones that who are working day and night are literally doing the crucial role, like they are feeding us, they are basically taking care that all the Indian citizens while sleeping at night should be full stomach, but they are the one who sleep empty stomach. So basically there is no job security as to the type of work that they do. Now problems and solutions under primary, secondary and tertiary. So the main thing that you can point out over here is that in primary, secondary and tertiary, under you can say I think problem is basically in the secondary. People should be here, but most and you can say more and more of the people are employed in tertiary sector, although they should be in secondary sector, but they are not. Okay, Moving forward, what are the problems and solutions in organized and unorganized sector? So problem is literally in unorganized sector that there is no job security, and this problem can only be solved if government takes a step forward and have some laws for them as well, so that job can also be secured. So this is the problem that is there, that no job security for the people working in unorganized sector. So I hope this table is clear to you. Moving forward, public versus private sector. So over here under public versus private sector, in public sector we are having the government owns most of the assets and provides all the services for public welfare. Under private, assets and delivery of services in the hands of private individuals or companies. Okay, true. Moving forward, let's see why the private sector is more expensive. So reasons why private sector is more expensive: spending large sums of money on activities or facilities is beyond the capacity of private sector. So I think this point is pretty clear, that spending large sum of money on activities or facilities is beyond the capacity of private sector. Charging a higher rate for the use of these facilities would be essential to private companies' profits and survival. I think most of the teenagers can relate to this. Now, examples of government investments: selling electricity at the cost of generation to promote production, fair price for wheat and rice. Actually, it should be fair price for everyone, especially in the one who are like unorganized sector, who do not have job security, and they do not even have security if they'll be earning something this month or if they'll be earning something this day. So I think it should be 24/7 month fair price for people like them. Now moving forward, irrigation systems including dams and canals, improving connectivity through roads, bridges and highways. I think this is a very important point when it comes to developing, where government should invest. Basic amenities like water, sanitation and nutrition. No, I personally think that this nutrition point and this sanitation point should be one, government should invest them in village areas. Also I think education should also be the main priority, because if people will be educated, then they'll be able to get more jobs, they'll be walk out from that village area and get themselves a better lives. So if in case this type of question comes, then you can definitely put up as a point. Now moving forward to our next thing, fill in the blanks using the correct option given in the brackets. Employment in the service sector dash has increased to same extent as production. So employment in the service sector has not. Now, workers in the dash sector do not produce goods. So workers in the tertiary sector do not produce goods. Now, most workers in dash sector enjoy job security. So answer to this is very simple. So most worker in organized sector enjoys job security. Moving forward, a dash proportion of laborers in India are working in unorganized sector. So a large proportion of laborers in India are working in unorganized sector. Cotton is a dash product and cloth is a dash product. So cotton is a natural product and cloth is a manufactured product. Activities in the three sectors are independent or interdependent. So answer to this is interdependent. Now, these sectors are classified into public and private sector on the basis of employment condition, the nature of economic activity, ownership of enterprises, or
number of workers employed in enterprise. So answer to this is pretty simple. Ownership of enterprises. Now moving forward, production of commodity mostly through natural process is an activity in the dash sector. So it's an activity in your primary sector. Now moving forward, GDP is the total value of dash produced during the particular year. So it's basically the definition. So GDP is the total value of all final goods and services produced in a particular year. Remember, there was a question where it was written 5 year. So yeah, it's in particular year, again depending upon the definition. So yeah, in terms of GDP, the share of tertiary sector in 2013 and 14 is between dash%. So it's basically on the table. So 20 to 30%, 30 to 40, 50 to 60 or 60 to 70. So the answer to this is 50 to 60. Now we are having a match the following. Okay. So over here we are having problems. And over here we are having possible solutions to those problems. So unirrigated land. So solution to this will be, if the land is unirrigated, then we can construct canals on this. So this one. Now low prices for crops. So if the prices for crops are low, then procurement of grains by government. Now debt burden, which generally farmers faces. So if there is a debt burden, then banks to provide credit with low interest. No job in off season. So if there is no job in off season, then setting up agro-based mills. Have to sell their grains soon after harvest. So cooperative marketing societies. So basically your number wise it will be D, then it's C, then it's A, then it's A, last is B. Yeah. So now moving forward, find the odd one out and say why. Tourist guide, dhobi, tailor, potter. So out of this, potter, because potter is the one who works in primary sector with help of a raw material, which is your natural resource. Teacher, doctor, vegetable vendor, lawyer. So vegetable vendor, taking the concept of unorganized. Okay. MTNL, Indian Railways, Air India, Jet Airways, All India Radio. So Air India, Jet Airways, All India Radio, MTNL. So over here I think the answer is MTNL, taking the concept of private and public. So rest are owned by government. Now postman, cobbler, soldier, police constable. So over here I think cobbler, again taking the concept of organized and unorganized. So now moving forward, now over here they are saying us to complete the table. So let's see. So complete the table. What is the percentage of worker in unorganized sector in this city? India, Delhi. Okay. Places of work. So in registered offices and factories, which comes under organized, 15% of people are there that are working. So own office, clinics with license, it again comes under organized only. So again 15%. On the street, construction workers, unorganized, 20%. Small workshops. So over here the answer will be 50%. as we can see, 50%. Now small workshops, again it will come in unorganized. So I hope you know how I came to this answer with help of this. So yeah, moving forward, do you think the classification of economic activities into primary, secondary and tertiary is useful? Explain how. So basically it is very useful because it provides us info on basically how and where people of country are employed. They tell us if they are in a secondary, primary, tertiary, so it helps us in that. Second point that you can include over here, that it also helps in basically it also helps us in basically ascertaining as to which sector contributes how much to the GDP. So basically it gives us, you can say, instead of it helps us, you can say it gives us proper knowledge about each sector and its contribution. And I think fourth and the most important point that you can include is that these days we are easily able to make out the point that not many people are employed in tertiary sector, not many people are working in tertiary sector. So it's basically because that we know as to how many sectors are there, how many people are working in how many sectors. So that is the reason that it's really important for us to classify as to how many percentage of people is working in which sector. So this is the main reason. Moving forward to our 10th question, for each of the sector that we come across in this chapter, why should one focus on employment and GDP? Okay, let's answer this. So basically it's very important for us to focus on employment and GDP, which is the value of final goods and services in particular year. Because see, employment and GDP, these two are the main factors when it comes to determining the development of a country under 5-year plan. So this is the main reason why we always focus on in every aspect as to employment and GDP. Now coming on to the second part, could there be other issues which should be examined, discussed? So yes, there can be many other issues. First can be balanced regional development. So over here I'll write regional development. Second, it can be equality in income and wealth among people in different sectors. So different sectors, equality in income and wealth. Okay. Now third point that you can offer is how to eradicate poverty. That can also be the issue that we can work on. Now fourth can also be something related to technology, as to you can say a modernization in technology or of technology, whichever way you're making your sentence. So yeah, these are the issues which can be examined. Moving forward, make a long list of all kind of works that you find adults around you doing for a living. In what way can you classify them? Explain your choice. So students, this is very general based answer, that if you look around yourself, you can basically, first thing that you need to do over here is to keep them under organized or unorganized. So one is private, one is public. Okay, so under organized and unorganized, you can keep them under private or public, and you can basically show the difference that the ones who are working in organized sector and have retired, so they are very secure as to how they'll be working, as to how they'll be managing their household, if they want to work in some extra pace or not. So on the other hand, for the people who are working in unorganized sector, who used to work in unorganized sector, they are still in tension. At that time also they were keep thinking that how they'll be managing their future, their children, grandchildren. Now also they are thinking that how will the money come into their house. So like this you can basically explain. Moving forward, how is tertiary sector different from other sectors? Illustrate with few examples. So the first thing that you can write over here is, define. And also that after providing define for all three sectors, you can take tertiary and secondary. That secondary sector is known as industrial sector because over here the material is transformed, whereas tertiary sector is known as your service sector. So like this, also apart from that, you can take one, remember I showed you a video, so like this you can take any one single product and you can compare that product in all three sectors in order to show the difference as to how tertiary sector is enlightedly different from all the two sectors, which is primary and secondary. So in this way you can do this question. Moving forward, what do you understand by disguised unemployment? Explain with an example, each from urban and rural areas. So basically, when it comes to disguised unemployment, it basically means that you can say when it seems to be that this particular human is employed, they are working, but in actual they are not working, they are not employed. Okay, now this type of employment is also known as hidden employment. Now I'll give you an example as to both the respects, in urban area, in rural area. So now first starting with rural area. So in rural area, for example, there is family of 9 farmers, okay, 9 people live in a family. Out of them, for say 4 of them work sometimes, but sometimes they don't. So they are working sometimes and they are not working other times will not actually affect any output of that particular work. So these 4 can come under disguised unemployment. Similarly, in you can say while taking the example of urban area, for say there is a family who owns a shop, okay, normal ration shop, and there are 4 people in that family who manages that shop. So out of the 4 people, if you see, then you will see, okay, all 4 of them are working, that means all 4 of them are employed. But if 2 of them don't work, then again it will not put any effect on the output, because that shop, and even while considering the example of rural village or farm, so that farm and that shop can basically be managed by the remaining as well. So though it seems that all the 9 and all the 4 in both of the examples are employed, but in actual they are unemployed. And this type of disguised unemployment is also known as hidden unemployment. So if in case there is a question that comes to you that what do you understand by hidden unemployment? So the first point that you can put there is that hidden employment is also known as disguised unemployment. And then later on you can definitely try to provide examples in both the aspects, rural also and urban also. Moving forward to our next question, which says, distinguish between open unemployment and disguised unemployment. So open unemployment means when the labor force, when the labor workforce, when the population of labor workforce, whatever you say, is not getting adequate opportunities to work. Okay, that is when it is termed as open unemployment. On the other hand, disguised unemployment or hidden unemployment that we just discussed, this means that when it seems to be that people are employed, but in actual they are not employed, they are unemployed. So these are the 2 different types of unemployment. One is open unemployment, where the labor workforce of our population is not getting adequate opportunities to work and earn, and disguised unemployment, where it seems to us that okay, this particular family, everyone is earning, everyone is managing to run the store, they are earning, in farm also, in the farm scenario also, but in actually only few are employed. Even though rest work or they don't work, it's totally on them, but it will hardly affect the output. Now, moving forward, tertiary sector is not playing any significant role in the development of Indian economy. Do you agree? Give reasons in support of your answer. So, no, we absolutely do not agree. Tertiary sector, okay, now reason being that tertiary sector, if you see, basically this is the sector that helps us to made our GDP increase. Like our GDP was mostly increased because of tertiary sector only. And apart from that, tertiary sector was the one in which more people are employed. So basically more job opportunities are there in tertiary sector. More and more people are employed in tertiary sector. So definitely tertiary sector is playing a significant role when it comes to development of Indian economy. Main reason is job. Now, service sector in India employs two different kind of people. Who are these? So basically in this question you will be explaining two varieties, or you can say two categories of people. First will be the one who may directly help us in the production of good, and second will be the category who indirectly helps in the production of good. So the one who helps us indirectly in the production of good, the one and the main example that I can present you over here in this category will be of teachers. So teachers definitely comes in the part who directly offers in the production of goods, and you can also say that this category helps the primary and other sector indirectly, not directly. So now moving forward to our next question, workers are exploited in the unorganized sector. Do you agree with this view? Give reason in support of your answer. So yes, we definitely agree with this statement that workers who work in an unorganized sector are not treated well. So reason being that there is no government law who basically act as a guardian to their job. There is no government rule or regulation that monitors their job to be more precise. And apart from that, they do not have any wages as to the one they people get who work in organized sector. Like there is no minimum wage guarantee. Apart from that, if the people who work in unorganized sector, if they work day and night to make both the ends meet, still they are never paid any extra amount for that like the people working in organized sector does. So neither there is any job security as to they work so hard, but still there is no job security that is given to them. So yeah, these are some points that you can basically write in your question when it comes to exam. Now, how are the activities in the economy classified on the basis of employment condition? So under this, you can write your points of organized and unorganized sector. And now I think this is very clear as to how you can classify them on the basis of employment condition. So first thing, as I told you, organized and unorganized. Next is you can write the definition. After that, nature of jobs. After that, government towards both of this type of employment. So all of these points you can do. Now, compare the employment conditions prevailing in the organized and unorganized sector. So over here we have to basically tell about the employment conditions. What are the conditions that are different? So again, same question in a twisted way, organized, unorganized. Now in organized there is job security, in unorganized there is no job security, there is no benefit, there is no minimum wage act, there is no labor act, nothing is there. So you can write all of these points that we are discussing from a very long time as to compare the employment conditions in both of them. Moving forward, explain the objective of implementing the NREGA 2005. So as we discussed, if you remember, the main objective of implementing this act is for the laborers or the workers who are not getting any work. So basically this whole you can say this whole initiative that was taken by the government, it guarantees 100 days minimum work to every worker. Like they'll be paid for 100 days. When they'll be working, they'll be paid, and that work, you can say in our language, it's a contractual work of 100 days. And if government fails to give them that 100-day work that the initiative was all about, so in that scenario there is also benefit for the workers, because in that scenario government will be paying unemployment allowance to every worker to whom government has failed to give employment for 100 days. So that was the main objective basically. In other word, you can also say providing employment for at least 100 days to workers, so that at least they can work for that particular time and earn something. Now, give examples from your area. Compare and contrast that activities and functions of private and public sector. So I think this is something that every one of you can do. So now still let's just discuss one more time. So private and public. So when it comes to private sector, so you can say private sector are the ones who are basically managed by individuals or any particular group, or you can say family. But when it comes to your public sectors are the category which is managed by government. Taking this point forward, the public sector, the main aim of public sector is the welfare of the public, Indian citizens. But the main aim of your private sector is the profit of their own organization. Now, talking about the examples. So in examples, you can definitely include for your the government-owned sectors, which is your public sector. You can say railways. And when it comes to private sectors that are owned by individual with only the motive of profit earning, in that you can definitely include Reliance, or you can say sometimes Jio as well. Now, moving forward, discuss and fill the following table, giving one example each from your area. Okay, so under public sector we have to write well managed organization and badly managed organization. So under public sector you can say a very well managed organization, and okay, it's private sector as well. So under, okay, we have to I think write in both. So under public sector one should be well managed and badly managed organization. Okay, so I think under well managed for public sector it should be railways. Definitely it should be, I think, railways. And for private sector you can say Tata Iron and Steel. I think this is one that everyone will agree. Now, badly managed organization. So reasons for a badly managed organization when it comes to your public sector is when officers are not good. Okay. Now, private sector, since private, then you can say owners. When owners became, more authoritative, like when they show more authority to everything. Okay. So moving forward, give a few examples of public sector activities and explain why the government has taken them up. So the few examples of public sector activities, I think first is railway. So reason being that only government can put such a huge investment in these type of welfare, especially when it comes to public, and it also provides the transportation facilities to all the category of people at a very cheap rate. Moving forward, you can take aims again, because everyone can get the health benefit at a very cheap rate. It's very affordable. And your third can be the electricity, of course. Nobody can forget electricity by NTPC. So yeah, these are the few examples the why government has taken them up. I think one that implies to all of them is that because Indian citizens of the country can easily afford them, because government also agrees on the fact that not everybody can afford all these types of necessities, but then again these are necessities. So that's the main reason that why government has taken them up. Now, explain how public sector contributes to the economic development of nation. So the reason how public sector contributes to the economic development of a nation is that public sector, which is the one that's basically work for the welfare of the its own people. So it basically helps in the rapid economic development. This is the first reason. Apart from that, you can say it avails goods and services at a very moderate rate so that everybody can afford it. Apart from that, it also makes sure that in order to provide job opportunity to everyone. So I think this is the main reason as to how public sector contributes to the economic development of the nation, majorly because it makes sure that every basic amenity is available to everyone can basically afford it. So moving forward to our next question, which says the workers in the unorganized sector need protection on the following issues. Explain with examples. So wages. So in unorganized sector, when it comes to wages or salaries, so it entirely depends as to how their farm yield will come out. Like there is no fixed wage. They never. It's not like they'll be getting a monthly wage every time. No, it entirely depends. Sometimes they get, sometimes they don't get. Right. So this is one point that you can put under example when it comes to wages. Talking about safety, they do not have again any financial safety. It's not like they have safety for any other thing, but yes, if they will have a bit of financial stability in their life, they can basically focus on some other things. So this is one thing that they should have. Again, you can give example in this. Health. So people who work in unorganized sector, they do not have any health insurances. Like they don't have any fixed income to get their health insurance done. So government should basically work for them. Government should basically have some rules and regulations drawn for them, which ensures some health benefits, some education benefits as well, apart from that safety and wages, so that every farmer should get at least something in order to support the family, in order to directly making them to be dependent on the climate, as to if rain will come, only then their yield will grow well, or else not. So this is not something that should happen with them, since they are the sole, you can say, reason why we are eating all the 3 meals. So yes, government should definitely work towards the protection of this sector. Now, okay, this is a case study. So let's read this. According to a study in Ahmedabad, 11 lakh out of 15 lakh workers in the city worked in the unorganized sector. The total income of the city of this year, 1997 and 1998, was 60,000 million. Out of this, 32,000 million was generated in the organized sector. Present this data as a table. What ways should be thought of for generating more employment in the city? So first thing that they are telling us to generate this in the form of a table. So what you can do is you can first write sector, under that organized and unorganized. Apart from that, what you can do is let's just try making it. So over here under organized, and over here it will be unorganized. Then under organized, what you can do is you can write that workers, about like workers that were employed, taking from above, you can say it is around 40 lakhs, let's say, to 11. Yeah. And under unorganized, what you can do is you can take income generated by people were 32,000 and like between 32 to 28. Yeah. So now taking the total over here, it becomes 15, and over here it becomes 60,000 million, and over here it's 15. Yeah, so in this format basically you can make your own table. Now the second point over here, what they says is what ways should be thought of for generating more employment in the city. So basically the ways that should be thought of in order to generate more employment in the city is that more like people should promote and locate the industries in the outer area of the city where there is large population that is residing, so that they can also get job opportunities and they can also be employed. Apart from that, considering this entire case study, one should promote the agriculture and vegetable produce in order to be more in order to basically gain more profit. So this is how we can come to a conclusion for this one table. I hope you guys can understand this table. Moving forward, the following table gives the GDP in rupees, which is crores. Okay, so they haven't written crore over here. What they have done is they have like simply given the numbers and then they are telling us that the GDP is in crores. Okay, so year 2000 and 2013, primary, secondary and tertiary. So I'll just do one thing, I'll be writing the answers here. Okay. So the first thing that they say is calculate share of three sectors in GDP for 2000 and 2013. Okay, so in order to calculate the numbers that we will be taking basically will be your this one plus this one plus your 39,000. And now after adding all of them, they'll be coming 38. And the value for this is always be in crore. So this is the answer for your first one, which is 1,38,000. Okay, final, as you know, GDP means final value of goods and services produced in the year. So I have just added and I have just taken out this value. So this becomes the answer of your first part. Yeah. Now apart from that, what they are saying, okay, we have to also calculate the share. Alright. So now since this is our answer, so in order to calculate it, what we can do is, one by one, we have to do like this. For example, this, and our total is 138,000 multiplied by 100. So the answer to this will be somewhat 57.97%. So similarly, you have to take out the answer for the rest. Like you have to take it out for secondary and for tertiary as well. It will be in the same way. You just have to divide it by 1,38,000 multiply by 100. And this one's for let me just try to I'll just do it here. So your answer for 19,001 divided by 138,000 and then 100. So most probably it will be somewhat related to 113.76%. And now similarly you need to do for 39,000 in the same way. By in this way you will be basically what doing is you will be taking out the share of the three sectors of the GDP. Now the next what they are telling us to do is show the data as a bar diagram. So in order to present the data of this one as a bar diagram, remember what we did was we have seen this like in two case studies. It was written like over here you can present 2000, over here you can take 2013, draw a bar graph and present, this one will be more like this, and presented with the help of numbers like percentages, and mention the scales like this is for primary, line 1 is for secondary, dot 1 will be for your tertiary. And then taking these numbers, try putting them into percentages, like 52% was in primary sector in 2000. So if taking the value for this is 52, so if this is your primary, color this up and write 52. So like this you need to make the bar graph for both of them. Now the next they are saying is what conclusions can we draw from the graph that we have made above. So I'll just strike it over here. So the basic conclusions that obviously one can draw by looking at the bar graph is that I think the first thing that most of us can see that the share of primary sector in GDP has basically decreased. This is the first thing that we can make out. And the second thing is the share of secondary sector in GDP has increased from 2000 to 2013. And after that what we can see is that the share of tertiary sector in the GDP has increased by the share percentage also. This is something that we can make out. So by considering all of these three things over here, even by making out the difference, you can basically tell us that all of this shows that the economy is moving on the path of development, as the share of secondary and tertiary GDP that we have counted over here in our first one. So basically the share of secondary and tertiary GDP has been increased in the year 2000 as compared to this one. So I hope this part particularly solves all your question. Alright, I think I said the opposite, that I think the share of GDP has been increased in 2013 as compared to 2000. So this is what this bar graphs basically tell us. So yeah, like there's a lot of calculation in this page, mostly in the downward area. So I hope this particular part solves all of your queries. Moving forward to our revision. So let's see. Economic activities mainly belongs to primary, secondary or tertiary sector. These are the three sectors. While goods and services produced in tertiary sector contributed most to the GDP. This is something that we have read and the point that we will agree the most. Major employment is provided by our first sector, which is our primary sector. Second is the GDP is the value of all the final goods and services produced in the country in a given year, which is your 1 year, 12 months. Though the primary sector contributed to the major share of production in the past, there has been a shift to the secondary sector and tertiary sector. Now, so last but not the least, economic activities can also be divided into organized and unorganized sector based on the place of work as to where they are working, depending upon again farmers and IT sector example that we read. And last is, in the public sector, the government owns most of the assets and provides all the services. In the private sector, ownership of assets and delivery of services is in the hands of private individuals or the owners. So this was it. I hope this particular part clears your doubt, or if there will be any related to private and public sector. because I think this is the most discussed topic, and I think private and public sector can be directly interlinked to, organized and unorganized one when a question comes in a twisted manner. So make sure you write both of them without leaving a point. Now, I hope I was able to clear all of your topics. Though I have covered every topic in the chapter, I hope you also understood it. So this was it for our today's video lecture of this chapter. I hope to see you soon in the next one. Thank you.